Okay, but if there are craft, there are beings.
Okay, people have asked me about
Okay, but if there are craft, there are beings.
okay, people have asked me about, I call them vehicles, okay?
Right.
No, I did not call them objects. That was too neuter for me.
Okay.
I had a Stanford professor said you ought to call them objects normally. No. They have all of the qualities of a vehicle. They can move. You know, they're just like a missile or anything like that. So that much we can say about them, for sure.
Okay.
So I'm calling them in.
Okay.
Okay, somebody comes along and says, well, now where would you manufacture one that's 2.5 Earth-lengths small? And that's a hard question to answer.
So are you not positing the idea that those vehicles contain, beings who are, maybe like us?
Yeah, I only go along with government images. And if you want to know about people kind of thing, there is the ship that picked up the Voyager capsule at Alameda Naval Shipyard, and they have a picture there of I think it's the Apollo flight that Buzz and Neil were on. But anyway, there is one image there that shows black people getting off.
So people with dark skin getting off.
Not dark black.
Black skin.
Really black. Yeah. Not dark black.
Black skin.
Really black. Yeah.
It's a fight for survival against an alien invasion.
As Commander-in-Chief, President Trump's highest priority is the safety and security of the American people. And while too often previous administrations all but neglected the growing security threats emerging in space, President Trump stated clearly and forcefully that space is, in his words, a war-fighting domain just like land and air and sea.
The White House and Pentagon took the first steps today toward creating a Space Force as the sixth branch of the military.
Space Force just announced that he's directed the United States military to create a sixth branch.
A sixth branch of the military governing outer space.
We are going to have the Air Force and we are going to have the Space Force.
To having its own Space Force. Or do we actually need to start thinking about a big world war in the heavens, about a big world war in the heavens, about a big world war in the heavens?
GPS satellites to get directions and withdraw cash from ATMs. Russia and China know that and are launching hunter-killer satellites which can maneuver close enough to an American satellite to disable it with a microwave or laser blast. 3 years ago, when 60 Minutes visited the command center for U.S. satellites, General J. Raymond described in guarded terms tracking what was originally believed to be a piece of space junk, but was probably a hunter-killer.
A young Air Force captain detected that debris started to move.
So what is that object that keeps maneuvering in space?
David, I'm not going to speculate, but I can tell you what it isn't. It's not a piece of debris.
The plan released today stops short of what President Trump wants, which is an entirely new military service devoted to space. A plan to do that will be submitted to Congress next year.
President Trump's ambitious calls for a Space Force have been met with skepticism across the country. But could it actually be necessary? According to the Pentagon, a Space Force could advance technology and America's scientific knowledges.
I don't have a horse in that race. I've spoken with Air Force generals who are happy retaining their control over the space defense. The Air Force has U.S. Space Command, and they've been in space ever since we've had access to space. So that's not a new understanding of how things are working. If you have a Space Force, you would take all of those activities and put them under one umbrella. And if you did that, I'd want to throw in a couple of extra things like asteroid defense. If you're going to go there, let's do it, you know?
You mean defend us against asteroids coming to get us?
Yes, yes.
You know how big a threat is that, by the way, while we're quickly in that neighborhood?
Well, so one could come and then render us extinct, so I would count that as a big threat.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, well, then I won't order out for breakfast.
That counts.
But the concern, of course, people have with this is the militarization of space crowds out or complicates the scientific exploration.
So consider first that ever since anybody's had access to space, we've been putting spy satellites in space. And so the militarization is not simply do you have weapons, but are there activities that relate to the conduct of war? And yes, we've had that since the beginning. That is not a new understanding or a new idea. And the second Gulf War, 2003, was enabled by space assets.
Columbia, Huntsville for Scott. If you haven't adjusted the 35 millimeter intervalometer yet, you could adjust that to 2 seconds. If you've already passed that step, that's no problem and you can proceed.
Okay, good at 2 seconds on the intervalometer. It's no problem. It's taking a couple seconds to reset.
All right, shalom to the elect of Israel, to the hopeful elect of Israel. You Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian Haitians, and the foreign Israelites that live like the other nations scattered across the four corners of the earth. Want to give all praises to Barak, Yahawah, Barak, Yahawashi, Barak, Yahawah, Barak, Yahawashi. Got to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Rawchaa, Qadash. Want to give double honors to the elders and apostles, the great millstone, who led me to this truth and been ordained by the Lord to teach the flock how to live, repent, pray, fast, and show forth the Lord's righteousness and mercy, judgment, forgiveness, and wrath to all those who are the elect and to the hopeful elect. Lord, will be part of that number. Lord, will this be edifying to those who fear the name of the Lord and striving to show forth the Lord's righteousness every day to the best of their abilities. His judgment always comes to light. Zephaniah chapter 3 verse 5. It is not slack. 2 Peter chapter 3 verse 9 is unto a ring. 2 Peter chapter 5 verse 42. The water for everybody tuning in. Yahawashi Barak Atham. Come back with a real quick pre-camp lesson that is going to deal with a couple articles that the Lord put Spirit on me to deal with. It's going to be very short. And then I'm going to go out and, do camp, Lord willing. It's an edifying camp for the elect, whomever they may be, and to the hopeful elect. So we're going to get into this. I'm going to make this real quick. I just thought that was very interesting video that the elder did. So it was a little longer than the other ones, but, he put a lot of proof to show that Esau Edom has been preparing himself for this war, okay, in the heavens, okay? And my camp, is going to be a lot about preparation through belief, so we're gonna get into a little bit about this. It says Biden marks dark shadow of Ukraine war over UN General Assembly. We're also going to talk about another war that just happened, the Bahasham launches attack on Armenian Enclave. Okay, Enclave. That's another one. Then we got a few more little topics that we're gonna deal with, and then we're gonna get out of here. So Lord willing, set a fire to the flock. So like I said, as Biden marks dark shadow of Ukraine war over UN General Assembly. Right. So President Biden cast the United Nations General Assembly gathering Tuesday as darkened by the shadow. And where are we at? We're in the shadow, the valley of the shadow of death. So, these are things that are just showing that these articles and what they're trying to come up with, these so-called phrases, they're all going back to the word. They're all going back to the scriptures. Okay? So darkened by the shadow of the war in Ukraine for the second year. And we know that they're being darkened by the shadow of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi. He's coming here and he's causing these other nations to come against this place and destroy it. So he's trying to ask the very nations that are actually going to lay him desolate as well. So General Assembly gathering Tuesday is darkened by the shadow of war in Ukraine for a second year, blaming Russia for the brutalization of lack of resolution in the war-torn country. Biden reiterated his call to rally the international community in support of Ukraine as his administration urges Congress to provide additional support for Kyiv as it fends off invading Russian forces while warning other nations of their security. This is showing World War III as well. But we know that in the end, if him coming and asking for their help, they're going to deceive America, Babylon the Great. Now, I got another article that I put on my community board, and come Thursday, 2 days from now, they're going to start the first court hearing of impeaching Biden. So all this stuff is going on right now. He's asking for help. Okay, and that's showing what? America, Babylon the Great. They know they can't do this on their own, man. And they asking the very people that are going to betray them. Now, we're going to read this in the scriptures and show this. Now, we've read in Revelations that the ten horns will view thee and shall hate the whore. But this is one that I bring up sometimes, but I don't bring it up a lot. So I want to bring this back up. This Obadiah chapter 1 verse 7. I bring it up a couple times, but it's not one that is, I bring up that much on my page, so I want to bring it up. So the whole title is Edom will be humbled. Okay, this is part of him being humbled, is these other nations that they have relied on to gain more traffic so they can have their riches in abundance. They are going to betray this place. So it says all the men, this is Obadiah chapter 1 verse 7, it says all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. And now remember, when you look in Psalms chapter 83, it talks about how there was a confederacy. Okay, and Esau, Edom had a group of other nations who came together to make sure Israel wasn't in remembrance. Now, so these other nations that are going against America, Babylon the Great, they know the secrets of America, Babylon the Great, because they all came together to keep a secret. Okay, but now it's starting to come out where what? Esau Edom's making his own tongue fall upon himself. He's got his own people coming against him, and he's also got these other nations, which is Satan casting out Satan. So all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. The men that were at peace with thee, what the ones that were in confederacy with them, in Psalms 83, with thee have deceived thee. Because you remember they used to have the Ishmaelites, which is the Arabians. They were with them very well. But now what? They're starting the BRICS. Okay, they're all going over there, trying to join Russia. Have deceived thee and prevailed against thee. They that eat the bread have laid a wound under thee. There is none understanding in him. Right. So that's showing right there that they're setting up traps and snares. And what did David say? He said, let their own devices catch them up. Let their own devices become a snare to them. And he was saying that to 2/3 and also to the enemies of Israel. And that's what we're seeing. See, it's his judgment is being announced publicly. Okay, so we're going to read this in the NLT. It reads, your allies, who's that? The beast system, the 7 heads and the 10 horns, will turn against you. They will help to chase you from your land. They will promise you peace because you're going over there asking them for help. They're going to be like, yeah, we got you. While plotting to deceive and destroy you. Your trusted friends will set traps for you and you won't even know it, man. And that's what's happening right now. We're seeing that in real time as Biden goes over there and pleads to ask them for help. Now, also, while that's going on, the UN understands that there's a global shift coming. Because when you read this, it says world inching closer to a great fracture. What's that? Division. Didn't the Lord say he came to make division? So that's showing it. We don't got to read too much of it. But it's showing that there's a great division that is coming. Okay? That's showing it. For sure. So while that division is coming, Biden's asking them for help. Okay? And that's showing that, they know they got to make a move soon. So we'll just read the first part. The world is becoming unhinged as geopolitical tensions rise, and it seems incapable of coming together to respond to mounting challenges. Talking about these things happening. The UN Security General Antonio Guterres has said in his speech opening the UN General Assembly in New York. He said the global governance was struck in time at a point when strong, modern, multilateral institutions were in greater need than ever, reflecting on a year which the UN has seen paralyzed by the divisions over the war in Ukraine. Guterres put those divisions in a broader context. We cannot effectively address problems as they are if institutions don't reflect the world as it is. Instead of solving problems, they risk becoming part of the problem, he said, adding that divides were deepening among the economic and military powers and between the North and the South, East and the West. See, so there's things being divided and they know. Okay, and the scriptures say that what? They're going to choose the East, man. They're going to go with Russia, man. They're going to leave. Okay? He needs financial reform, which means what? They need a different plan. The one with America Babylon Great is not working. Okay? So also I want to read a couple more precepts. Job chapter 18 verse 7. I know I'm doing a lot of videos today. I'm off plantation, so I'm hitting hard today. So Job chapter 18 verse 7. The steps of his strength shall be straightened, and his own counsel shall cast him down. See, his own counsel, own Esau Edom's counsel is going to be thrown down by his own people. Verse 8. For he is cast into a net, a trap, by his own feet. See, he caused it himself by what he done to the other nations and also to Jacob. He walketh upon a snare. And that's what he's walking into. He's walking into that trap right now. So now we're going to read Isaiah chapter 19. We're going to start at 1. And it reads, the burden of Egypt, which we know this is spiritually Sodom and Egypt, according to Revelation chapter 11, verse 8. behold, the Lord rideth upon a swift cloud. What's that? The chariot. And shall come into Egypt, and the idols of Egypt shall be moved at his presence with the intercontinental ballistic missiles. And the heart of Egypt shall melt in the midst of it. Okay, but there's also going to be heavy chariot fire. Okay, heavy chariot fire, so-called UFOs. It's going to be heavy laser beam fire coming from those chariots. That's what it showed in that video. Verse 2, and I will set the Egyptians against the Egyptians. Right? That's what he's doing right now. He's setting themselves against themselves. And they shall fight everyone against his brother and everyone against his neighbor, city against city and kingdom against kingdom. And that's why they're so shook up about this, because America, Babylon the Great versus Russia. And America's the leopard, Russia's the bear. When you look at Revelations chapter 13, verse 2, it talks about how Russia is basically going to defeat this place. Okay, and they know these prophecies. That's why they're preparing. And so are we. Verse 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof. And when it talks about they know those prophecies, they also know them now. Because why? Because they're sending out spies to watch the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, and they know what they're saying, man. They're terrified about it, but they're trying to do something about it. But they know, we know. It's lucky. We know that they can't. We know they can't do anything about it. So verse 3, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to idols, and to the charmers, and to them that have familiar spirits, and to the wizards. And that's what a lot of them are going to be doing. They're going to be seeking those old ways that got them their freedom to be wicked, and it's not going to work. Verse 4, and the Egyptians I will give over to the hand of a cruel lord, and a fierce king shall rule over them, saith the Lord, Lord of hosts. Right? Verse 5, and the water shall fail from the sea, and the river shall be wasted and dried up. And that's what we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot of famine, pestilence, all types of stuff coming across. Now, I didn't want to get too much into it, but that's showing that the Lord is starting to bake strict judgment on this place, along with other things. So it says right here, with Russia distracted in Ukraine, Azerbaijan launches attack on Armenian Enclave. Moscow, which this is in Moscow, it says Azerbaijan's military announced to launch and socialize anti-terrorist measures after the landmines killed 4 soldiers and 2 civilians early Tuesday in a disputed enclave in Nagorno-Karabakh. It's like if I said that wrong. The majority ethnic Armenian territory located within Azerbaijan have been the source of conflicts and wars between Azerbaijan and Armenia since the late Soviet period. Their defense ministry in the capital, Baku, blamed the deaths of the Armenian separatists, a charge Armenia dismissed as a provocation. A contingent of up to 2,000 Russian peacekeepers installed after Moscow negotiated into large-scale hostilities in 2020 has apparently not acted against Azerbaijan's current military offensive. So it says Azerbaijan has also benefited from military support from the traditional ally Turkey, which was increasingly filled with big power void to the South Caucasus, which is, Caucasus means caveman, cave dweller, Esau Edom, as Russia has focused its forces on the war in Ukraine. So basically, while that's going on, another war is going on. Okay, so there's many wars that are all starting to come about. Okay, and the main war is going to be World War III. So Matthew chapter 24, verse 6. And it reads, and ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars. See that ye not be troubled, for these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. So we know that the end is not just yet, but it's coming, because we're seeing these wars and rumors of wars. We're seeing things go off. And as we go on through these days, more things are starting to happen. There's more attacks, more things like that. So the last thing I want to deal with before I get out of here, it says, black Texas student, so-called black Texas student, Judite, Okay, from what we know by, the way he's acting, he's rebellious. Okay, but he could be somebody else, but a different nation. So, because we don't go by the color, we go by the nationality of your father. So-called black Texas student given additional suspension for hair lock style. So he got his hair like that, it's all down. There's his mother. She looks like a Judite, whatnot. Okay, but this is how he got his hair at. He got his hair like, real long, man. And it shows in the scriptures we're not supposed to have it like that. And it's just a big thing to me to kind of bring up something that's kind of edifying, because now you're seeing that even Esau Edom is starting to have a problem with this kind of Shiva Jadas, which is dreadlocks, kind of format in your hair, man. The Lord don't like it. Esau Edom don't like it. Okay? So, shalom to everybody coming on the comment board. Yahawashi, Barak, Atham. So, I just want to put in this one thing. And what made me want to put it up, because there was another big brother, he was talking about the long hair thing as well. So I seen that, and Lord put spirit on me to just go ahead and deal with it briefly. So 1 Corinthians. Okay, then after this, I'm out of here. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. It shows us in the scriptures. Oh, man, hold on. I got to type it in because it'd be messing up. So 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 14. Do not even nature itself teach you that if a man have long hair, it is a shame unto them. This should be enough for Jake to know that you don't need to be having your hair like that, man. That's going off. Okay, that's going off. You're not supposed to have your hair like that, man. That's nah. That's a nah, man. Okay, that's a shame to an Israelite man to be having your hair that damn long, all tied up and all. Nah, man. So that's all I wanted to deal with. Try to make it quick. Lord willing, is edifying to the flock. Shalom to elective Israel, to the hope of elected Israel, you Hebrew Israelites, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indian, Haitians, and the foreign Israelites that look like the other nations scattered across the four corners of the earth. I want to give all praise to Barak, Yahawashi, Yahawashi. Got to give all praises to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, Bahasham, Qadash. I want to give double honors to the elders and apostles. The great millstone led me to this truth and been ordained by the Lord to teach the flock how to live, repent, pray, fast, and show forth the Lord's righteousness and mercy, judgment, forgiveness, and wrath to all those who are part of the elect and to the hopeful elect. Lord, wouldn't be part of that number. Lord, wouldn't this be edifying to those who fear in the name of the Lord and striving to show forth the Lord's righteousness every day to the best of their abilities. As judgment always comes to light. Zephaniah chapter 3, verse 5. It is not slack. 2 Peter chapter 3, verse 9 is unto a ring. 2 Ezra chapter 5, verse 42. Wa abad babal. Lord, wouldn't this edifying to the flock. I'm Yasharallah. Shalom.